All right. Welcome to another group coaching session, our ramp up coaching program here. We're going to wait just another minute and let everybody get logged in. I see we've already got a lot of you joining us here. If you guys have any questions throughout the call today, there's a little Q&A button at the top or bottom of your Zoom's window somewhere. But if you just click on that and drop your questions or comments in there, I'll be sure to address those as we get off. But thank you to those of you who joined us last week and for joining us again this week. And for those of you who missed out on last week, we did send out a recording of the conversation that we had. So just be sure to check your email inbox. I know everybody's got about 1,000 emails in your inbox, but just check out for an email from support@rokrbox.com, and it's going to have a link to the Zoom recording from last week. So, and if you can't find it, just shoot me an email, Josh@rokrbox or support@rokrbox, and we'll be sure to get that set up for you. Okay, it looks like we're having some issues with the audio, so let me test. Okay, test. All right, Zoom tells me my speaker and my microphone is working well. Okay, we got a confirmation. And yes, we can. This is a webinar, a Zoom webinar, so you don't see all the other attendees and stuff like that. It's just essentially me speaking to you. And if you guys need to interact, then just throw something in the Q&A. So if you guys prefer that format, we may move to that in the future. This is just what I've grown comfortable with over the last couple of years of being, trapped on Zoom while the rest of the world was going chaotic. So we can hear you. You can hear me. If you have questions, drop them in the Q&A, but we'll go ahead and get started today, guys. Today's topic of conversation is going to be around some basic prospecting essentials. And, we're in the environment, you're in a sales profession. And one of the funniest things about some sales professions is a lot of people don't do the things that pros do, although it is the talent and the skill that you're being rewarded, handsomely through closed deals and things of that sort. So today we're going to talk about how to prospect like a pro, like a true professional, right? Somebody who does something for a living, but without being pushy or awkward, because a lot of people do have call reluctancy. We've all been called by a terrible sales guy before. You've all probably been the terrible sales guy before, making a bad call, and just you can feel the awkwardness, you can feel the uncomfortableness on the other end of the phone. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is how to prospect like a pro without being pushy or awkward. And the first step to anything that you're doing professionally, or as a skill, or even as a hobby, is to make sure that you're tracking your progress, right? There's a famous quote by Peter Drucker, one of the oldest school business entrepreneurs and consultants. He says, you can't improve what you don't measure. And so, what is it exactly that I'm talking about here is, measuring your activities, measuring your actions. We talked about the customer life cycle last time and how there's many steps to convert, a complete stranger into a happy and satisfied customer. And, once these leads wind up in your lap as the agent, there's some things that you need to do. And, you got to make some phone calls. There's some things you have to say. There's some, conversations that you have to have, some objections you might have to overcome, and some decisions that you may have to influence someone to take the next step. And so there's no way you're ever going to improve anything that you're doing in life if you're not actually tracking your progress. And so the beautiful thing about our relationship is, obviously, because you have RokrBox, means you have one of the most powerful and productive CRMs that are in the business out there. We support a lot of them, but all of them give you the essential tools that you need to be able to track your progress, right? So logging your calls, creating to-dos if that's what you like to do, making sure people are moved to the right category, because we're humans, we're not robots. And it's expected that we're going to make mistakes and we're going to forget things. And our brain is not as good at tracking and recalling information as a computer CRM is. So the first thing is, you need to make sure and get committed to learning the tools that you have, learning the CRM that you've invested in, and making sure that you're tracking all of your progress in the CRM. And the reason why is because this work can be brutal. This work can be very, very discouraging, right? There's a lot of people that you got to get through to find those little flakes of gold. And that's actually where we derived our company name from, a rocker box. There's a picture of an old rocker box right there. You see that guy standing outdoors. I don't know whether it's hot or it's cold, but it's probably uncomfortable for him. And he's doing some hardcore manual labor. You know, he's scooping up the sand and the gravel and the dust and the dirt and pouring it through that rocker box. And after a laborious, intensive, repetitive day, he's eventually led with that little stack of gold, right? And so that's what we have to think of as far as your mindset goes when you're approaching these calls, when you're approaching this skill, when you're approaching this activity. Again, we derive our name from Rokrbox. We spell it a little bit differently, ROKRBOX, and we're the premier ISA solution for identifying serious buyers and sellers from internet leads. Those are those flakes of gold, right? But there's a lot of stuff that you got to get through. So the attitude that I want you guys to adopt and the mindset that I want you guys to, convince yourself of is that all of this work is productive, right? Just finding the dust and the dirt and the mud and getting it out of the way, that's productive. So even the no's that you come across, that's productive work, because not everybody in your pipeline is going to close. Not everybody's motivated. Even the people that are motivated, they may not qualify, or their offer might not get accepted. There's a million different variables out there that you may not have control over. But the one thing that you do have control over is your attitude and your mindset and your approach to this type of work. And so, yes, it is work, right? And again, we love the analogy of the rocker box. There's flakes of gold at the end of this pipeline if you spend your time to work through, to sift through and find those flakes of gold. So that's just sort of an attitude component that we need to understand when we get into this type of work, whether you're following up with Rokrbox leads, or whether you're doing some of your prospecting, or whether you're calling your database, or whether you're going out door knocking, right? All of this work is productive, right? Even the no's help you get them out of the way so you can go find those flakes of gold. So let's talk about the you've got the right mindset, you've got the right attitude. So now it's time to actually pick up the phone and start making some calls. And so what are some of the things that we use as human cues whenever we interact with someone on a face-to-face basis that are going to tell our subconscious mind whether or not we should know, like, and trust this person, which, as you know, that leads to business, or whether we need to go running to the hills, right? We need to protect our assets and protect our family and protect our time and take off and run out the other direction. So what are some of those, subconscious cues that we pick up on when we're in person? Well, there's a lot of different things. Just to mention a few, there's eye contact. How many of you have ever felt, really good eye contact with an individual when you first meet them, or when you're having a conversation with them, or you're sitting across the table with them? Eye contact is incredibly important. And I'm sure you can probably remember of a time where you were talking with someone who didn't have great eye contact. Maybe they were looking around the room, or maybe they were distracted and kept looking down at their phone or their laptop or something in their hand. That gives your subconscious mind the cue that, hey, maybe this person is untrustworthy. Maybe this person doesn't want to give me their time or their attention. I don't know. I don't feel very safe in this interaction. Right. There's also a handshake. So again, in person, thank goodness the handshake came back, right? A lot of people were saying that was going to go away forever, but I'm out there shaking hands with people face to face. There's a lot of live events going on these days, and people are sticking out their hand and they're extending it just like we used to, the old-fashioned way. And you can tell a lot from someone's handshake, right? What is it that your dad probably taught you back in the day? Is that you don't want your handshake to feel like a floppy fish, right? And if you feel that on the other end, it creates a trigger in your brain that says, hey, wait a minute. This might not be the type of person I want to hang out with. This might not be the interaction that I want to be involved with. Think about the smile, right? So someone is making great eye contact with you. They extend that hand. They grab that hand confidently and securely, and they've got a great smile, right? Ear to ear, very confident, great presence. And it feels very warm to be in the presence of a person who has a great smile. Think about the opposite of that. How many times have you ever met someone who has a blank stare on their face or a flat expression? It doesn't really evoke a state of, let me get to know this person better, right? There's also your physical appearance. So what did you decide to wear that day? Are you a suit and tie type of person? Are you a V-neck t-shirt like myself? What is your appearance, and how does it come across to other people? I guess the opposite end of that is, you at least need to make sure your clothes are clean and ironed, but how many times have you ever met anybody with, a wrinkly shirt with holes in it? Again, there's these subconscious cues that we've been programmed for generations and generations to say, wait, I don't know if I would want to trust this person. Hygiene's another thing, right? How many of you ever been around someone that that maybe their cologne gives off a bad smell, or maybe just their personal body odor is incredibly appalling. And you obviously do not want to be around this person. And then the last one here that we can see when we're in person with somebody is you can feel their energy and their enthusiasm, right? Their passion for what they're talking about, their excitement for being engaged in this conversation with you. So these are a lot of the things that we see when we're in person that tell our subconscious mind, is this person trustworthy? Do I want to like this person? Do I want to be in business with this person? And so our subconscious mind is sorting through all these details all the time to help us lead to more conversations and more connections with people. But when we're talking over the phone, it's so funny because people, whenever they talk over the phone, they suddenly transform into a different person, and they feel very awkward, right? A lot of people have caller relevancy because they just feel awkward on the phone. And that's because a lot of this stuff has been stripped away. Whenever you're on the phone, the only thing that you really have is energy and enthusiasm, right? You really can't, you can hear a smile over the phone. A lot of people talk about that, but you can't see a smile, and you can't feel a handshake, and you can't see what they're wearing, and you can't, tell if they've showered in a week. Like all those cues that our mind used to tell us in we were face-to-face interaction are pretty much gone. The only thing that we have is energy and enthusiasm. So this is the most important asset that you need to be able to rely on and lean on to convey, hey, I'm a trustworthy individual and you belong in this conversation and we're going to create a connection. And so, what is a great way to actually approach these calls is knowing that as soon as you pick up the phone and the other person picks up on the end of the line, one of two things happens. You are either engaging with this person or you are repelling this person, right? There is no neutral. So you need to ask yourself right before you pick up on the phone, is my attitude, is my mindset, is my energy and my enthusiasm, is this going to be engaging or is this going to be repelling to other people, right? Because again, there is no neutral. As soon as somebody picks up the phone, they're literally thinking, I got to get out of here, or they're thinking, oh, that's interesting, I want to learn more, right? So the energy and enthusiasm is the only thing that you have to rely on. And so the way that you can have that energy and enthusiasm to master the introduction of the call, because again, so much is decided in just the first few seconds of that phone call. As soon as that person picks up and you start engaging with that lead, again, you're pulling them towards you or you're pushing them away from you. What you need to know is you got to have that conviction and that mindset that you help people solve problems, right? That's what you do. That's why you got into this business. That's why you have happy and satisfied past clients, is because you help people solve problems. And again, you were rewarded a very, hefty, commission on the back end of it, but you need to truly show up to every conversation with a passion and a conviction for the service that you're offering. You help people either avoid pain that they were going through, or you help them seek out new pleasures and new benefits. And that is what you do, right? We talked about it last week. The biggest myth in real estate is that realtors sell homes. You do not sell homes. What you sell is professional services. And those professional services, the benefits of them is to help people realize their goals and dreams when it comes to real estate. So think about that, know about that every single time you pick up the phone, that is what you do. You are in the profession of helping people solve problems. And your income is a direct correlation of the amount of value that you add to other people's lives, right? So again, if you're prospecting and you're following up with a lead, you know that your goal is to hopefully find someone and help them solve a problem. And the more of those people that you can help solve their problems, the greater your income will be, right? It's a direct correlation. And so let's talk a little bit more about some of the, you've got the right mindset, you've got the right attitude, you've got the conviction that you help people solve problems. You're picking up the phone. And so what are some things that people have maybe done before that made you feel a little awkward, right? That caused you to be hesitant on the next phone call? And again, here at rokrbox, we've been in business since 2013. We've handled over 3 million internet leads, and we've hired and trained over 400 ISAs. And so we've put all of our ISAs through similar training when it comes to mastering the introduction, overcoming the awkwardness, having the right mindset, having the right attitude, because that's what we're doing every single day on a daily basis, making thousands and thousands of phone calls from coast to coast. And so it's very important and critical for us to have that right attitude, to have that right approach. But what are some of the ways that we've accidentally gotten into some awkward conversations, and how can we avoid those? So here's some of the experiences that we would like to share. to hopefully help you avoid them. So one of the first forms of awkwardness comes with the name of the lead, right? How many times have you ever had a name, come through your dialer, come through your CRM, or come across your desk, and you just don't know how to pronounce it? And what a lot of people do is they start off that conversation by just butchering the name. And again, if we talk about you're either engaging this person or you're repelling this person, what do you think is happening if you're butchering somebody's name right off the bat? You're definitely not engaging with them, right? So if you don't know how to say it, or if you think you're going to mispronounce it, then just don't say it. Skip right past it, right? There's many ways to do that. You introduce yourself, you talk about the point of the conversation, but you don't have to use their name if you don't know how to pronounce it. So just completely avoid that. That's going to lead you to an awkward conversation. And again, if you strike out in those first couple seconds and you repel, if that lead wants to repel from you and leave and go running the other direction, you're going to wind up having less conversations. And if you have less conversations, that's going to lead to less conversions. That's going to lead to less people that you can help out, which is going to lead to a lower income. So skip right on past those wrong names. And then also, I'm sure you guys have seen it maybe once, maybe twice, where someone registered on your website as Mickey Mouse or Scooby-Doo, or there's even some people that I've heard, I've never experienced it myself, but I've heard that some people even put vulgar words into these capture forms. I don't know if that's true. I can't confirm that. But the point is, if you get a crazy name in there, or you get something, that appears to be silly, or maybe is like some celebrity name that is probably not searching for homes on your website, again, skip right past it, get into the point of the conversation. Don't create that awkwardness unnecessarily in the conversation. Another form of awkwardness can be derived from assuming relationships. So let's say you get a lead that registers on your website, and the name is Sally. And so you call Sally and a gentleman picks up the phone. Let's not assume that that's Sally's husband, right? Because this could create a really awkward situation. What if it was Sally's son, right? Or what if it was Sally's father? Or what if they were completely unrelated to Sally altogether? So don't make any assumptions about the relationships when maybe the phone is being passed back and forth between the lead and the person who answered the phone. So just don't make any assumptions. That's another way that you can, bring some unnecessary awkwardness into the conversation. So we always preach to our team here. Let's not assume the relationship. Let's not assume they're married. Let's not assume they're mother or father. Just skip right on past it. If you call looking for Sally and a man picks up the phone, say, "Oh, I'm sorry, is Sally available?" Right? You don't need to say, "Hey, is your wife available?" or "Is your mother available?" So don't introduce unnecessary awkwardness into the conversation. And then the reality of the situation is that time and time again, you're probably just going to mess something up, And one of my famous quotes that I am always repeating over and over and over is that it's only as big of a deal as you make it. And that works two different ways, right? Sometimes you mess up, right? You call someone the wrong name, or maybe you did mispronounce the name, or maybe you accidentally called someone after you just called them yesterday or the day before or 10 minutes prior. Or let's say you call someone and it's just a wrong number, or it's the wrong name. There's lots of different things that inevitably, if you're on the phone and you're prospecting and you're reaching out and you're making a bunch of contacts, inevitably you're going to mess something up, right? So just remember this: it's only as big of a deal as you make it, right? If you mess up someone's name or you call someone unnecessarily, just don't make it that big of a deal, right? "Hi, is Sally available?" "Oh, no, there's no Sally here." "Oh, I'm sorry. Did someone register on this website searching for homes in the blankety blank area?" Right? Just move right on past it. We've also had, depending on what kind of list you're calling. I mean, there's lists that you could get your hands on where you're calling, leads that it may be a deceased homeowner, and so you're calling and asking for Bill, and the person's like, "Oh yeah, Bill just died last week." Well, again, if you sit there and go, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that. I want to apologize for calling," and blah 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 blah, and you just go on and on and on and on. Guess what you're doing? You're making it a really big deal, when the fact of the matter is, mess ups are going to happen, and life happens as well, and people are going to die. Bad things are going to happen. But if you don't make it such a big deal and you just move right past it, you can overcome that awkwardness and help make the person on the other end of the phone feel more comfortable with you. So don't blow it up. Don't make it such a big deal. And then I also like to say that sometimes too, when we don't make as big of a deal about something that we actually should. So, let's say you're calling a lead and you're talking about how important it is to meet in person, or to put in an offer on a property, or to Go preview some properties together. And that's a really important, necessary step for you to get them through the sales pipeline. Then you need to make that a big deal, right? So it's only as big of a deal as you make it. If it needs to be a big deal and you're not making a big deal, then do. And if it's not that big of a deal, but you are making it a big deal, then don't, right? The other realization that we need to come to terms with is the fact that, again, when you're calling over the phone and you're prospecting these leads or following up with leads, you're essentially interrupting somebody's day. And time and time again, you'll get someone on the phone and maybe they've got a bad attitude and maybe they're really frustrated, and they they're just not giving you a lot of respect over the phone. Just remember that you're interrupting this person's day. You never know what could have happened. Their girlfriend could have just broke up with them. Their dog could have just died. They could have just got a flat tire on the side of the freeway. They may be frustrated about what's going on the market right now. So just understand that, when you reach out to someone on a certain day and they may not be feeding you a lot of respect and a lot of, comfort, that it's all right. Don't make it that big of a deal. Right? Don't get so emotional. Don't get so emotionally attached to these conversations that you have, because there's plenty more leads out there to call, right? And there's plenty more people that you can go out and find out if they have a problem that you can help them solve. Because again, that's how you generate income, right? That's how you generate revenue in your life and in your business. So again, these are some things that can create some awkwardness. Let's avoid the awkwardness. Let's not introduce any of these things unnecessarily. And then if you do wind up screwing up, it's okay, guys. We're all human, just don't make it that big of a deal. So a couple other points here that I want to make about overcoming the awkwardness is you always want to make sure that you're leading the conversation. And where a lot of people get hung up on this is when again, this is all about the introduction. You pick up the phone, you've got that energy and that enthusiasm, you've got the right mindset and the right attitude, you've got this conviction that you help people solve problems, and you state your introduction and somebody's kind of confused. Who is this again? What real estate team are you calling from? I'm sorry, who is this? And a lot of people get really hung up on that, and that creates a lot of awkwardness. So what you need to keep in mind is that when you reach that point of confusion and awkwardness, that you need to move past the introduction and start stating the point of the conversation. So again, your introduction is your name and your the business that you represent. But the most important thing is the reason for the call, right? What is the point of the conversation? And a lot of times people, especially when they get new to phone prospecting, they'll get really hung up in that very beginning stage of someone trying to figure out who is this again? How did you get this number? What are you calling here? So just move past that and get to the point of the conversation. Don't allow for long pauses. Don't allow for someone to get all stuck up in that part of the conversation. Just move right on past it. So these are some internal things that we can think about and consider. Again, a lot of this has to do with your attitude and your mindset and your approach to the calls. Most of it is going to deal with, the first few seconds of the phone call, making sure that you land it and you have that great energy and enthusiasm, so that you can make someone feel comfortable having a conversation with you. But now let's actually talk about some of the external factors, right? What are some things that you can do about your environment, right? So most of it starts right up here, right in between your ears, but there is an external factor as well when it comes to creating a powerful prospecting environment. So what I want to kind of share with you here is some of the things that we do at rokrbox to create that powerful prospecting environment. And some of the greatest feedback that we get is not even from our employees, but actually from our prospects when we're going through our hiring process. So we have many steps to our hiring process, but the last step is to invite people back for an observation. So after they've completed their in-person interview and we determine that they're going to be a good fit for the company, we actually invite them back to come shadow us for an entire hour, so we can show them all the work that we do and the calls that they're going to make and the technology that we use and the rejection that they're going to face. And then we send them home and we give them a business card and we say, hey, send us an email. Let us know what you think about this work or this job opportunity. And these are some of the items that are very common themes whenever people email us back and let us know what they thought about our organization. They say, wow, this work environment is supportive and uplifting. You guys are a family rather than just coworkers. I can see that this is a great experience that's going to better me for my future. They acknowledge that our company is different and makes them excited to be able to learn. They see that there's a lot of positive reinforcement. They see that successes are rewarded. It's a very high energy and competitive attitude. They notice that people are having fun with each other while also focusing on the task at hand. That's actually one of our core values, is to have fun while being the best. And then number 10, I feel that I would start to become addicted to meeting my goals at work. So this is all a result of a powerful prospecting environment. These are all the external factors that they can see and feel and almost taste that this place is different, man. This environment here is fun, it's competitive, it's high energy, the people get along with each other. And some of the things that we do to achieve that, I'm going to share with you right now, are external factors. And so the reason why we take people through this process is because we want people not only do we want to select the best talent, but we want the best talent to be selecting us as well. And we want them to acknowledge that this is a fun and challenging and productive environment that they want to be a part of, because that's the most ineffective way to create a productive work environment is to have unproductive people in it. So we want to make sure that we're selecting the right talent. We want to make sure that they're magnetically attracted to this environment. And I'm just going to step you through a couple of the other things that we do that you could easily implement into your prospecting environment or your work environment or your office, whether it be at home or at a physical brick and mortar business. But the first thing that we do is we start off each of our prospecting shifts with a huddle. And so the idea of the huddle is that, we all come to work every single day from different walks of life. We have different families. We have different things going on with, school and work. Of course, all of our callers are students at Texas A&M. So they have stuff going on with classes and projects and group projects and tests and exams. And they've got boyfriends and girlfriends. They've got a social life, they going out to the A&M games. That's definitely not much fun this season. But there's all sorts of things, relationships, and activities and obligations that we have outside of our work that when we come in for the shift, we want to make sure that we all take a moment to get on the same page together and get focused and get motivated and get excited about the work that we're going to do and the goals that we're going to achieve together. So in a later coaching session, I'll dive a little bit deeper into what our huddle actually looks like. But that's step one is, we have 3 shifts throughout the day. There's a 9 to 1, a 1 to 5, and a 5 to 9. And they all start with a 10-minute huddle where we come in and we gather, we acknowledge our results, we set our goals, and we get everybody on the same page and get everybody excited to essentially be, in the same boat, rowing in the same direction. And then as soon as we break the huddle, now we've got, a couple other things that we need to remember before we get to work is that we need to make sure that we're very focused and on task when it comes to these activities, right? We're going to be doing some work here, right? It's called work for a reason. It requires some effort. You're making some sacrifices, and hopefully you're creating some positive results. So in order to do that, we've got to remove all the distractions. So here at rokrbox, we actually have a cell phone locker that before our team members clock in, they lock up their cell phone in a completely separate room from our call center. They lock it up, they put it away. If you have the ability to do that, do exactly that, because we all know how distracting this device can be. You get, social media alerts, you get push notifications from every single app you've ever downloaded. You get emails, you get calls, you get texts, right? This thing is just a distraction device. So make sure that you set this away from your prospecting station, or if you're actually using your phone to prospect, then you need to turn off all your alerts and all your notifications so that you don't find a way to have that creative avoidance and to stop doing what you're doing. Close out your email, disable your alerts. Another thing that I've seen at really highly productive offices is people will actually have a sign. It's a stop sign. And it says, stop, I'm prospecting right now, leave me alone, or it can wait till later. Something along those lines. I mean, you can literally go on your computer and type up a Word document, just say, no distractions. I'm dialing for dollars, or I'm realizing my family's dreams by making some calls and scheduling some appointments here. So really all you need to be able to make these calls is your CRM so that you can log your notes and your calls, and then your dialer, whatever you're using, a voice over IP solution, or maybe a Mojo triple dialer, or maybe you are using your cell phone. But if you can avoid having your cell phone in the room, that's what we do here at rokrbox. We literally lock them up in the other room before we go to work. So now remember, on the phone, all we have is that energy and enthusiasm. So what are some ways externally that we can create and reinforce a productive prospecting environment to make sure that it's easy to be productive, right? Like I said, the most unproductive thing that you can do is have someone with a bad attitude or that is unproductive themselves in your environment. But there's a lot of other things that you can do that make it difficult for somebody to actually be unproductive in your environment. So I'm going to share with you some of the things that we actually do here at rokrbox. the first thing is that we publicly display our goals, right? Anything that you measure, you can improve, right? Remember, we talked about that. If you're not measuring it, you're not going to be able to improve it. So every single shift, we actually make a goal for, how many opportunities we want to achieve, or how many live transfers we want to connect with an agent. And so we actually state those goals out loud in our huddle, and then we go write them down on a whiteboard. And then as the shift progresses, we literally walk over there and tally mark all of the positive, productive activities that we're involved in. And then right next to that whiteboard is number 2 here. You'll see ring a gong or a bell when you achieve success. You can go on Amazon right now and buy just the simplest little bell, like the front desk bell. That's what we used to have. But later on, we decided we want to have some more fun with it. So we actually went and bought like real gongs, like a real live musical instrument, off of Amazon, and we set it right over there by the whiteboard. And so as people are achieving their goals and they're having, productive measures and accomplishments, they go over, they tally the board, and then they ring the gong. And what does ringing the gong do? Well, it's a fun little celebration that they have themselves, but it also conveys to everybody else that, like, hey, I'm over here, I'm getting my work done, and I'm achieving success. And I always like to joke when we're having a really great shift and people are ringing the gongs. I say, hey, careful guys, we're having some success over here, and success can be contagious, right? A little bit of sarcasm there, but the idea is that people are competitive not only with themselves, but they're competitive with other people. And so the ringing of the gong reinforces that, oh yeah, this actually does work, right? People actually are scheduling appointments or identifying opportunities. And then it also creates an opportunity to have a lot of competition, right, between each other. Oh, hey man, you just ring the gong. Watch this. I'm going to ring the gong next. And so it's a really great, fun way to create that and tap into that human competitive spirit. The next thing that we have going on here is we listen to high energy music. I don't know what you consider to be high energy music, but I love EDM, electric dance music. And so we've got tons of playlists here in the office that are just, on repeat, but essentially the beats per minute, if you look it up and do your research, the beats per minute, the music that you're listening to does have an impact on your energy, on your enthusiasm, on the your tempo and your pace and your attitude as well. So make sure you pick something that you like. Make sure you pick something that's high enough BPM, beats per minute, because you don't want to be listening to some type of music that's going to lull you to sleep. So some type of active, energetic, high energy music is going to convey that we're in this state of productivity. Now, because you're in this state of productivity and you're grinding it out and you're smiling and you're dialing, it is important that you take some breaks. So our shifts are only 4 hours in length, but halfway through the shift, an alarm goes off and we have our team take a break. So we take a 10-minute break. Everybody has an opportunity to go back and reconnect with their cell phone and see what they missed out on, or just sit down on the couch in our break room, or, grab a snack or grab a drink. But it's very important, if you're in this mode of high productive work, that you need to obviously stop and pause and take a break. Otherwise, it's going to be unbearable. And that leads me to the next point here, is that you need to schedule shorter shifts. So I don't know if your plan is to just never prospect all month long, and then this one day you're going to show up to the office and just crush it for 8 hours straight. That's very, very hard to maintain and duplicate. So like I said, here at rokrbox, our shifts are only 4 hours in length, and then we send people home. If someone wants to work more hours than 4 hours in a day, then they have to work the AM shift and go home for the mid shift, and then they can come back in the PM shift, because we believe, and we're very committed to the fact that this work requires a lot of energy and enthusiasm, and it's very difficult to have a consistent level of energy throughout an 8-hour shift. So make sure that when you're doing your follow-up or your prospecting work, let's not set an unrealistic goal of being on the phone all day long. Let's shorten those shifts, make them a little bit more reasonable. The other thing is standing up. And if you're standing up, you want to make sure you're wearing comfortable shoes as well. So I'm literally standing up right now for this coaching call, because I want to create energy, and I want to create enthusiasm in the conversation that we're having right now. I could easily be hunched over and sitting at a desk, and of course, my diaphragm is going to be more closed off. There's going to be less oxygen flowing through my body. And then you can even hear that and feel that on the other end of a call, when someone is slouched over in their chair and not projecting their voice. So make sure that you're standing up. As you can see, our call center back here, there's no chairs to be found anywhere. The only chairs that we have are right here in our conference room. Everybody else is walking around, standing up. smiling and dialing, listen to that high energy music. You'll even see some people from time to time, dancing a little jig to one of their favorite songs or something. The next thing here to create this environment of energy enthusiasm is eat some healthy snacks. These are some of the things that we keep in our snack bar here: Kind bars, Cliff bars, granola bars, right? Not just candy. We don't want people to just get a sugar high and then come crashing down. Of course, we're all stocked up on Red Bull as well, but we have a snack bar here in our office, and all the snacks are free because we want to make sure that our people aren't sitting there on the phone starving, and their stomachs grumbling, and they want to get something in their belly. And then, in most cases, most offices, they have a vending machine that you got to go, feed some coins and get some sugar out of it. But no, eat some healthy snacks. Eat some things that are high in protein, low in calorie, that are going to give you some energy, so that you're not sitting there thinking about what your next meal is going to be and being distracted by that. And then the last thing here is being coachable, right? And so how do you create an environment of coachability? Well, you can have people listening into your calls. You could be listening into people's calls. You can be, collaborating on best practices whenever, somebody gets off a call. Hey, I really liked what you said there. Can we role play that real quick? Or maybe you hear someone get off a call and it didn't go so well. Hey, talk to me a little bit about what the buyer or the seller said there, and let's role play that conversation back again. So being coachable is probably one of the most important elements of prospecting like a pro, really elevating your game and being at a high level. And the last thing I want to share with you here before we go, guys, comes just from a recent interaction I had at a business mastermind. I had the pleasure to meet Kevin Eastman. And for those of you who don't know, Kevin Eastman, he spent 35 years coaching, 13 of them in the NBA. He was also the national director of the Nike Skills Development Program for all the top talent in high school and college. And this guy's been around champions his entire life. He actually was a part of the NBA champion Boston Celtics back in 2008. He was an assistant for Doc Rivers. As you can see there, he's in some of the photos of their championship team. That was back when for the basketball fans out there, that was the big three, the original big three, right? Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and who else am I thinking out here? Oh my gosh, I forgot his name. Drawing a blank on it. But point being is that this guy has been around champions and high achievers his entire life. And he actually just wrote this book, Why the Best Are the Best. And it's a lot of testimonials about his experiences that he's had throughout his coaching career, being exposed to NBA champions, being exposed to all the up and coming talent through the Nike talent development program. He also worked with the Olympic teams with Coach K. But this is one of the most important and impactful takeaways that I had from my meeting with Kevin Eastman recently is he broke down, coachability into really 3 different elements. He said, when it comes to coachability, the average players want to just be left alone. And again, when he says average, he's talking like the best of the best, the greatest basketball players that have ever walked this planet. He's mentoring and coaching and advising all the top talent in the world. But he says the average players, they want to be left alone. The good players, they want to be coached, but the truly elite players, the Hall of Famers, the best of the best that he's been around, say they want to be told the truth. So that's a really good challenging for you and your people, is to ask yourself, what type of player do you want to be, right? Do you just want to be left alone and do your own thing? That's fine. You can be an average player. Average players in the NBA make a lot of money. Do you want to be a good player? Like, are you open to being coached? And coaching a lot of times comes with, a lot of complimenting and then criticizing and then complimenting and criticizing. But the truly elite players, if that's really what you want to be, if you want to really set yourself apart from the competition and achieve what others aren't achieving and do what other people aren't capable of doing, then you got to be willing to be told the truth. And you got to be willing to tell the truth, right? Whether this is your production that's being coached or whether it's you coaching your people. And that comes from Kevin Eastman, having had this experience around some of the top professionals in the world. So that was my biggest takeaway. Like I said, he's got this book, Why the Best Are the Best. It's a pretty easy read, nothing too thick if you're interested in it. I'm sure it's on Amazon. But yeah, that was one of the biggest takeaways that I had just recently, getting to kind of rub elbows with someone who's been around some of the most successful people when it comes to playing basketball on the planet. So average players want to be left alone. The good players want to be coached. The elite players, they're ready and they're prepared to be told the truth, because sometimes the truth hurts, right? But that's what it takes in order to be truly elite. So that's the most important aspect of creating that productive work environment. And again, here at rokrbox, we've got a lot of different measures that we coach our people. Again, we track everything that we do. When we track things, we can go back and look at our scoreboards and look at what opportunities we can improve on. And then we have lots of interaction with our team, whether it be the huddles, whether it be one-on-ones, whether it be our company masterminds, but these are all an open format opportunity for people to communicate what are their skills, right? What are they working on? What are they improving on? How can they get better? And what are the results that they're hoping to achieve? So anyway, guys, that's essentially all the slides that I had for you today. I hope you've learned something new, or maybe you were just reminded of something that you already knew and you just had to be made aware of it once again. That's what I call an aha or an oh yeah. An aha is something that you didn't know, and an oh yeah is something that you already knew, but you just had to be reminded of. But either way, I hope this was valuable for you, and hope you got something away. If you guys have any questions, I don't see anything over here in the Q&A, but if you have anything, feel free to throw something there in the Q&A box, and we will meet next week, same time, Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central. If you have any questions that you would like to ask offline, just shoot me an email, josh@rokrbox.com. But thanks again for attending today, guys. We will get the recording sent out later this afternoon. So if you have any agents on your team that weren't able to join, make sure to get that forwarded out to them. So anyway, guys, I don't see any questions here. So I hope you're having a great day. Hope you're having a great week, and we'll catch up next time. Take care.